You're listening to The Raw Reaction on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Monday night, Angry Tenside, Big Dick, coming straight at you. Here we are, Raw Reaction. It's a new era. Seth Rollins, due to injury, stripped of his WWE title. And here we are in a new world, the WWE reset. How are you, Big Dick?
Doing well, brother. Doing well. I am ready for my fiesta of Thanksgiving.
How did you feel tonight when you realized that everything we've been working towards and everything we've been doing over the last year abruptly ends due to Seth Rollins' injury? And he's out 6 to 9 months. And we find out tonight that we have a 16-man tournament that will take place over the next week or two on Raw and culminate at Survivor Series.
You know what? I mean, it's a crappy situation. You don't want to see. I mean, Seth Rollins. I mean, he's been a good champion. He's surprised me. I thought they were going to be itching to get the belt off of him when he got it. They kept it on him for a little while, and they've actually kept it on. I mean, I think the last couple of pay-per-views, you've seen him wrestle people like Sting, who aren't really a huge threat, but at the same time, he's still continuing to hold the belt.
Overcoming all odds. This really does represent an opportunity for somebody to step up, to step out of the shadows if they don't go the route of Roman Reigns, or it creates a scenario where a Roman Reigns could sell his soul to the corporation, much like The Rock did at the 1998 Survivor Series Deadly Games when he became the corporate champion, defeating Mankind, who actually thought he was the one selling out to win the title, but in reality, he was a pawn in Mr. McMahon's game. Who knows?
Aren't we all pawns in Mr. McMahon's games?
We all are. Well, we see a bracket that later tonight that reveals the 16 names, but when the show started, Triple H mentioned that the plan was to have a tournament for the title. He didn't actually say initially it would be 16-man, but that was what it wound up being. But what I really did like is I was afraid that Triple H the booking would be simple, and that would be that Triple H would just bury Seth Rollins and say, you know what, you were a great champion, but you got injured, and clearly a great champion wouldn't be injured, and, setting up a face run for Seth Rollins when he came back. No, they didn't go that route. In fact, I love Triple H went on and gushed about how proud of Seth Rollins he was, and why Seth Rollins was picked as the champion was reinforced by the run that Seth Rollins had. And he just basically went on about how great Seth Rollins has been, how great of a champion he was. And now they're looking for the next guy, but Seth Rollins is a great champion, and he will be back, and he certainly did everything he said he was going to do. So I really liked that they showed that appreciation to Seth Rollins, and not only did Triple H do that, but the fans also obliged. So it was a very cool moment. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, I think it's good too, because it basically allows him to come back as either a face or a heel. He can come back and, hey, Triple H, you missed me, I'm back. You had a lot of faith in me. Or he can come back as a face and jump in out of nowhere and sort of say, hey, you know what, you didn't call me at all, Triple H, or whatever your reason is for turning bad guy or turning good guy, and go with it from there.
Yeah, I definitely had no problem with that part of the segment for sure. So it did work. From there, he actually calls out Roman Reigns, who comes out to the ring, and Triple H basically goes on and talks about how Roman Reigns was a guy they had in consideration initially to be in Seth Rollins' spot, to be the chosen guy for the Authority, but unfortunately they just felt there was something ultimately lacking, and that was they knew Roman Reigns was a guy that would never do anything, do whatever it takes to be the champion. And ultimately that's why they went with Rollins, but now Reigns can right that wrong, and what Triple H is offering is, he's the number one contender. He doesn't think it was fair he necessarily got stripped of it, but instead of entering a tournament, he could make him the number one contender today, and all the guys could fight tonight, and then the winner takes him on at Survivor Series. But in reality, he needs to have a commitment, and these are Triple H's words, that Roman Reigns is his man. And I thought that was pretty cool. Triple H kept putting his hand out and saying, I want you to be my man. Really odd undertones to that, but Roman Reigns eventually said, no, I'm not going to be your man because I'm not going to sell out to get what I already earned. So I'll just go the route of the tournament, which, yeah, you got to respect Reigns, but it could be an all a big ploy, a big sham, but who knows? It does now trigger the 16-man battle royal. And Vic, we see these brackets, and this is where the fun begins. I know people like tournaments. There was a lot of things they could have done with the tournament. They could have brought up some NXT guys. They could have put in Finn Balor and maybe the number one contender, Samoa Joe. They didn't go that route. They went established veterans with some young talents on the roster. When I look down the left side of the roster, the match that took place right after the first segment, Triple H's authority figure, Big Show, would take on Roman Reigns. The winner of that match would take on Cesaro, Sheamus. And in that bracket as well is Del Rio versus Stardust and Kalisto versus Ryback. That's the left side of the bracket. So once again, Reigns, Show, Cesaro, Sheamus, Del Rio, Stardust, Kalisto, Ryback on the left side. How does that sit with you when you think of that bracket?
I think Roman Reigns is going to be facing Cesaro, Del Rio, and making it to the finals against Ambrose.
Well, we did see that Roman Big Show match next. Without knowing anything about the card tonight, if I look down the left side, I actually would have thought Roman would take on Sheamus because I thought WWE would stay away from booking faces versus faces and heels versus heels. Now, we'll talk more about that a little bit later, but I could be wrong here. We'll find out. Del Rio versus Stardust is a very interesting match because you have heel versus heel. I can't wait to see that one. That one's on SmackDown, so that means yours truly will actually watch SmackDown. And Kalisto versus Ryback is also face versus face, which is a weird match to itself. And I don't think Kalisto has a chance in the world to beat Ryback, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a Ryback Del Rio match up in the second round there, based on just my guesses and sort of who they're hot shotting. I think that the first two rounds are, number one, something to make the tournament a bit longer. So, whoever ends up winning is going to be looked at. This could be sort of like a Stone Cold Steve Austin moment for Roman Reigns. Even if he doesn't win the strap, he can put on the fight that leads to him getting over completely with fans. I think they've done a good job since WrestleMania of getting him over with the audience, but I feel like there's still some work to do there.
I'm positive, regardless, he's winning this tournament, and I think the difference is I really do think they are going to do the 1998 ripoff, and I think Reigns will join the Authority, and I think it's a perfect setup to the return of Rollins, whenever that might be. So for me, I think Reigns wins this tournament, let alone this bracket. So I don't necessarily agree with you there. I think it's a foregone conclusion to me that he walks out with the belt. Now on the right side of the bracket, and we do see some of these matches tonight, we have Titus O'Neil versus Kevin Owens, Neville versus Wade Barrett, Dolph Ziggler versus Miz, and a very interesting match in Dean Ambrose versus Tyler Breeze. So once again, it's Titus versus Owens, Neville versus Barrett in one bracket, and then Ziggler versus Miz, and Ambrose versus Breeze. How do you feel about that side of the bracket, Vic?
I was a little surprised that they didn't have something to advance the Breeze and Dolph Ziggler matchup, where I feel like they've been button heads for the last couple weeks. I thought that there'd be something to lead up to a match to pay-per-view. I don't think Tyler Breeze gets over on Ambrose. I think Ambrose is advancing most likely to the finals here of the pay-per-view. My thoughts, I like your assessment with Ambrose. I would not mind seeing something similar to that. However, I almost think it would be cool to do something where Seth Rollins is sitting ringside for the main event between Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. And basically, he's the one who interjects. And it may not be it may not be either it's a swerve where, okay, he injects for Roman Reigns and he acts like he didn't need the help, and then eventually he does the full turn. Or I think, and this down the road, I think that he interferes in the match, puts the strap on one of them, and eventually sets up a three-way dance between the old members of the Shield.
I don't think maybe, but I just don't think he's physically well enough to even do that. So I don't foresee that, and it almost gives away too much too soon. So it would be interesting. I think it definitely would work, but I'm not sure I could see that happening. Out of this bracket, I think Dean Ambrose wins the whole thing and takes on Roman Reigns in the finals. And I think Roman eventually will screw his friend and join the Authority. Now, it could go the other way. When I look at this bracket, I think, what I thought was going to happen necessarily didn't play out tonight, but I guess I was right on a good portion of it. I thought Owens would beat O'Neil. I thought Neville would beat Barrett. That match happens on SmackDown. I thought Ziggler would get cost his match by Tyler Breeze and The Miz would win. And I thought Ziggler would then in turn cost Breeze his match, and then Ambrose would win. That way they could set up their Survivor Series match. That didn't exactly happen. So let's talk a little bit about the tournament matches themselves, because it really does set up the majority of the show. Roman Reigns immediately took on the Big Show. And it was almost as if, and I liked the way they booked this, it was almost as if Triple H was anticipating one of two things happened. Either Triple H was going to get Roman Reigns as a stablemate, and Reigns goes right to the finals, or Reigns was not going to play ball, and in that case, he'll be booked right into a match with Big Show immediately at that moment to the Authority member. And judging by their interaction on the aisle, Triple H and Big Show, they had a contingency plan set up, and Triple H felt Big Show was enough to stop Roman Reigns. Just wasn't the case. You know what? Not a bad match between these guys.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? It was a fairly long match. It was a good match, I think, between them. I think we got what we expected to get out of it. I mean, I don't think anybody thought for a second that Big Show was going to win.
No.
But at the same time, it could arguably be said that he had the toughest first round match.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it was a tough match, and I do think WWE has done a really good job of rebuilding back Big Show to a point where he is somewhat of a threat now. So I never really thought he'd win this match, but I thought it was kind of a powerful first round match to book. So I was okay with that. And I'll say this for Big Show, and this is shocking I'm saying this, but I feel like Big Show's probably worked his best year of wrestling over the last 12 months than in the last decade. 2015 has been better than anything Big Show has done. 2005, 2006, 2007, and so on. So he's had a couple good matches, and I think this was a good one too. So Roman Reigns eventually wins with his signature moves and gets the spear and wins it. And there were a few moments where it was in fear, or there's some drama that he might lose it, but Reigns wins it pretty convincingly ultimately. But it was a good match, so you can't ask for more than that in a first round match. I think we know Big Show's not going to win that match, so it makes sense. Roman Reigns wins and moves on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think obviously Reigns is on a rocket to the top, or at least near the top. I think they're building up to his moment, whether it be now, WrestleMania, or some point following that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Big Show he's coming in to collect his paycheck, but you know what? He's put on good matches in doing so.
Yeah,
I mean, he's put on a good match.
I could never have thought that he would have done what he's done in the last 12 months. So I give him a lot of credit. I think he's had a good year. He won the Andre Battle Royal. He had a great match with Daniel Bryan not too long ago. You know, he's done what he had to do. So I'm with Big Show. No, I guess the next match to just go right after is just because Roman and Big Show are in this bracket was Cesaro versus Sheamus, and I have to say I was really surprised with the outcome of this match. Really surprised, because what it does is it sets up a showdown between two of WWE's most essentially popular performers. Cesaro, in my opinion, not that it's an upset that he beat Sheamus, but I think I overthought this, even though Cesaro's been on a roll in WWE. I overthought this in the sense that I just didn't think in a million years WWE would let Roman Reigns get in the ring with Cesaro. You know, I was really surprised by it. So Cesaro actually won this match in a very bizarre outing in which Wayne Rooney, who's, you know, Team England's captain and one of the most famous Premier League players, is in the crowd. I mean, that's essentially, you know,
it's like President Barack Obama or Tiger Woods or something.
I wouldn't go that far, but he is Wayne Rooney.
Like Tiger Woods before he fucked those people.
I wouldn't put him in that. I'd say a Tom Brady, so to speak. I mean, he's like a equivalent to a United States quarterback, you know, and you know he's big character there. And Sheamus and Wade Barrett, I thought it was cool that Bad News Barrett was at ringside with Sheamus. They're a bona fide team now. But you know what's funny is you think together Sheamus and Bad News Barrett would be a wrecking ball, and it's been just the opposite. They've lost almost every match they've been in, which I don't necessarily agree with that, but Wayne Rooney's interference, which was started by Sheamus and Bad News Barrett running their mouth, ultimately cost Sheamus the match, and Cesaro got a surprise roll up to beat Sheamus here in this match. It was kind of a cluster, but you know, I didn't expect the outcome. What about you?
I mean, I definitely thought Cesaro would be somebody to advance to the second round. However, like you said, I didn't think that they'd be pulling a trigger in a matchup like this. I mean, this could. I think this matchup, assuming they do it on Raw next week, is that when they're doing this next round of matchups?
I don't know. I don't think they ever stated that. I think that if I'm wrong, I could be wrong here. I got the impression that the final 8, which represents 7 matches, all of them will be at Survivor Series. However, there's another Raw. Kev, Kev, who is our producer extraordinaire, he I'm not sure if he saw Raw tonight, but I don't think they ever said that though. Did they, Kev?
What was it again?
Are the round 2 matches going to be on Raw and SmackDown next week? I got the impression everything's at Survivor Series after round 1.
I'm not sure, honestly.
They didn't say that. They didn't cover that, in my opinion. Because I don't remember hearing that.
Well, what is it? They moved on to what, quarterfinals after tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, there's still 8 in the tournament.
I think
I can't see them running 9 matches, or what? No, it'd be
7.
8,
7.
and then down to the last 4. So 8, 9, 10. I can't see them running 11 matches on pay-per-view. So I'd say it's probably going to continue next week on Raw.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about that, but if that's the case, Roman Reigns versus Cesaro, there's your main event. I mean, that's just an incredible match, and the two of them are booked right now, there's no bullshit interference that really is going to happen because neither Roman and Cesaro is truly in a feud. Stardust has that little thing going with Cesaro, but he's not going to interfere in Cesaro's match. No way. So it should be interesting nonetheless. Now, also in this bracket, we have Kalisto versus Ryback and Del Rio versus Stardust, as we said. I'll just say, watch SmackDown, guys. I think Del Rio versus Stardust. That's going to be a very interesting match, and that's a very interesting TV. I don't know how that's going to play out. I can't wait to watch those characters interact. What about you, Vic?
Yeah, I think that'll be a solid match. I feel like Del Rio's sort of, despite having Zeb Coulter as Americano or whatever, I think that he's getting a lot of welcome back cheers, and it might just be because he took the title off of John Cena, and part of it is because, hey, you know what, he's in really good shape, he's looking good right now, and he's putting on some solid matches. But I don't know. I feel like he's like a tweener between the face and the heel.
Well, that could be.
He's trying to be a heel, but he's like Cesaro before they started realizing it. I mean, you're getting a good mix because they're happy and he's a good wrestler and everything.
People are glad he's back. I mean, he's definitely like born again, you know. But Del Rio, he's gonna put over ultimately Roman Reigns, I think, on his way to the finals. But man, you want to build up Roman Reigns as a champion. If you're telling me his route there is going to be Cesaro, Del Rio, and potentially Dean Ambrose.
After beating Big Show in the first round and winning the prior tournament.
That's a tough route, and that's a champion. So I like the way they booked this. I really wish they would have put maybe one or two of the NXT guys in, but I'm okay with this. I guess Kalisto is there.
I don't think we need a Kalisto in there, but at the same time, you don't want to put an NXT guy in there to basically lie down. You want to have the NXT guys come in.
They're probably going to have the Mex America thing and Kalisto winning against Ryback. Kalisto might roll him up on a bullcrap move, and then here you got Del Rio and Kalisto, and then Del Rio, plays the whole Mex America card against essentially a luchador. So I don't know. They might go that route. I don't really know. But Del Rio versus Stardust will be interesting. I just want to see the characters interact. So it should be fun. Now, on the other side of the bracket, tonight we get what to me I thought would have been a squash match. Titus O'Neil versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens cut a great promo, I thought, before he went to the ring, or on his way to the ring, and he talked about England is the stupidest bunch of people he's ever seen. And anyone who idolizes false prophets like the Queen of England and the royal family proves how much of an idiot they are. And then he doesn't stop there. He goes and says that he's a traveled guy and he's seen a lot of stupid things in his life, and some things that were so stupid that he couldn't believe he's seen them. Yet admiring the royal family is the absolute stupidest thing he's ever seen. He went on and on. It was great. I love Kevin Owens, man. He totally pissed off the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, and he was getting a lot of face rub from the crowd at first, and then he came out here and he was like, "Yeah, you people suck." Like The only reason I'm doing this is for me and set my family up and whatever. Like that's sort of the whole promo. But I mean, it was good. He did a good job of putting in the digs there, not just trying to get cheap heat, but actually plugging in some well thought out digs.
Kevin Owens, CM Punk, and Paul Heyman have one thing in common. Those guys, they pretty much get cheered no matter what, but they do know how, when they are in that scenario, how to get the crowd to turn against them. And you would see it in any town they go in, because everybody wants to cheer those three guys. So very cool there. Of course they made Titus O'Neil somewhat competitive in the match, but ultimately we know what's going to happen. Pop-up powerbomb, Kevin Owens over Titus O'Neil. There's really not much we need to say here. I know WWE likes Titus O'Neil, but there's only so many guys that they can push on the card, and there's only so many guys they can have, be relevant. And Titus O'Neil he's a tag team wrestler, and that's his spot on the card, and that's where they're going with him. And he's lucky to have the match in the tournament. Owens is going to go far. I think he'll be in the semifinal versus Ambrose.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I'd like to see that match. And, I mean, you think about it. Let's say it's Del Rio versus Reigns, Ambrose versus Ambrose versus Owens. I mean, those are two pay-per-view quality matches, two very good pay-per-view quality matches to have there. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind having them. What do you think they're going to have? They're going to have that. They're going to have the finals. They'll have probably Seth and Tyler Breeze, maybe pre-show. Are they having a WWE championship? I assume they're still running with this feud. By the way, the WWE, they did a good job of building up the tag division, and now I feel like all it is the 3D, pretty much like a 3D show 24/7. Or like they're the only team that's even a contender. Like there's no Calypsos, there's no primetime players. I mean, they make mention of them.
Aren't the Luchadors or the Luchas, the Lucha Dragons, the number one contenders? I thought they were.
I don't know.
They won that match last week, and I thought they became number one contenders. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to jump around just yet, but yeah, I agree with you that those are my final four as well, and I think that those are obviously great matches and so much at stake, and those guys will deliver. Owens has to have an opponent in the second, and I'm not so convinced next week is the second round, but we'll say. But if it is next week, he has to have an opponent, and that would be Neville or Barrett. I don't trust WWE in this scenario. They like to have everyone be 500 and everybody get their wins back, and I think Neville will beat Barrett, and I think Owens once again will beat Neville like he's done the last couple of weeks. But man, would I love to see Owens versus Wade Barrett, man. That would be a really cool match, dude.
Yeah. So I don't know. And what's ever happened? I mean, I see Cody Rhodes is in the tournament. Has he aligned himself officially with Ascension?
Yeah, man, in the Cosmic Wasteland. Yeah, they've been coming out with him as his bodyguards, man. They're full fledged. So you may see them in the Del Rio match next week or on SmackDown.
Oh God, so. I hope not. I mean, I feel like they're just doing more and more to bury this team over the entire last year. This is how you do not bring a tag team up, because like right now they can get established as a tag team, but they're not getting any type of a push. They're basically lackeys now.
Well, I think they've made their decision on them, and that the ship's passed. In fact, I've been watching NXT, and Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, who really are one of the top tag teams in NXT, very talented team. They're kind of like almost a better version. Yes, you heard me correct. A better version of the world's greatest tag team. You got to see this Chad Gable kid, Vic. You'd love him. He's like a mini Kurt Angle. He's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. I mean, this kid's unbelievable. I don't know where they found him. Anyway, I digress, but they challenge the Ascension this week on NXT to come back to NXT and wrestle them, because the Ascension are the greatest NXT tag team of all time. They held the tag team titles a year. No one's ever held the tag titles that long in NXT. Anyway, long story short, I have read the taping results, and the Ascension comes back to what is described as a hero's welcome, and they job to Gable and Jordan pretty convincingly. So they're nothing's going to happen for them. So, they'll probably wind up costing Stardust his match with Del Rio, but we'll see. So I'm hoping for Owens and Barrett, but who knows? We get two more matches tonight on the bottom of the bracket. Ziggler versus Miz and Ambrose versus Breeze. I don't want to spend too much time on the Ziggler-Miz match. It wasn't a bad match. What I did like about the match is I'm glad to see Miz is being taken seriously again and treated like a professional, and he gets a real match. And it's not a comedy match. It's not a gimmick match. He doesn't run away. He doesn't act like a coward. He gets put away with a surprise super kick. He was competitive, and I think that's Miz on the right direction, although Ziggler gets the win. What do you think?
I don't know I don't know about this tournament. I feel like they put an extra round in here, and they're not using it to advance any matches. I mean, maybe it's Ziggler, Tyler Breeze, but I think that on the other side of the bracket,
They didn't, though. You're right about that. They didn't. I assumed, like I was just saying to you at the beginning of the show, you're making a great point. I assumed Ziggler would lose because of Breeze, and Breeze would lose because of Ziggler. And there you go. You got something out of that. So literally, as far as we know, because there's only 3 more matches left, barring they do something with Del Rio and Kalisto, but that's not even a first round thing. I mean, literally, you make a great point. Nothing came out of the first round except maybe Sheamus and
filled some airtime on TV.
No, I mean, what's gonna come out of it? Are Sheamus and Wade Barrett gonna take on, Manchester United? I mean, what are they? What's the point out of this? I mean, that's a great point. They really didn't. They're not gonna come out of the first round with anything. There was no reason to even have it.
Other than maybe Ziggler and Breeze.
Well, no, because nothing came of it, right? I mean,
Breeze has his match. Did Tyler Breeze have his match tonight? I thought he had it on SmackDown.
No, it happened tonight.
Oh, crap.
You must have missed
I
that.
threw crap during the match. That must have been that one.
No, in fact, that's why I didn't want to spend a lot of time on the Ziggler Miz match. Anyway, Ziggler wins. The Ambrose Breeze match was fairly competitive, but what was interesting about it is, I mean, Tyler Breeze is getting a good push. He was probably consistently the number 2 or 3 guy in WWE, or excuse me, in NXT. He never really got the title, but he was always in the picture. I assumed Breeze was going to be pushed pretty hard in WWE. To get a loss this quickly, it's almost similar to happen with Neville. He definitely wasn't a bad loss tonight by any means, but Ambrose got a quick roll-up win on Breeze with a fairly clean win. I was really surprised by that. So Breeze, who had a real good work match with Ambrose, I thought it was entertaining, but I really didn't expect him to lose cleanly. I really thought they would use this to have Ziggler and Breeze go at it, and they essentially just jobbed Breeze in a second match. How's that? So if you didn't, I'm glad you didn't see it, Vic, because I'd like to know how you react to that, hearing that.
I mean, I don't. It's just WWE inconsistent booking, and that's why I don't like. I don't think they needed this first round.
Well, here's the thing, right? So you're not gonna use the first round, at least for Breeze and Ziggler is a big part of the card, obviously. What I wonder here is, why wouldn't you have used, you could pick anyone that's, a Jack Swagger. Why wouldn't Jack Swagger have taken on Ambrose and Ambrose wins, whatever? It just seems weird you would take a guy's steam away. Not that it was that bad of a loss or anything, but Breeze has been rolling, dude. He came on the scene. He was doing good in NXT. He got the big match against Jushin Liger at NXT Brooklyn, although he lost that. And then he lost his little feud with Samoa Joe. But still, Breeze is supposed to get some momentum, and I thought they took it away from him here. So I was surprised by that. Now, I want to ask Killer Kev, because he's such an NXT junkie like myself. Kev, do you feel like the Kevin Dunn machine is continuing to thwart the NXT stars that they can? Kevin Owens clearly was an unstoppable freight train that they couldn't have stopped if they wanted to. But it seems like outside of Owens, no one's really busting through to the WWE main roster. Do you think Breeze is going to be the next victim of that?
You know what? He just might be. He really just might be. I was actually kind of surprised myself. Like you, I figured that they would have had Tyler Breeze get the upset win over Ambrose to set up him and Ziggler in the next round, but no, not doing that at all tonight.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I'm surprised. Well, I guess I have two questions, because I'm so excited about tonight's show. I would say, number one, I thought Vic made a great point, because I didn't think of it. I want to know if you agree that the first round was kind of a throwaway. I mean, you could basically have just booked the first round because they didn't do anything with it. So I agree with Vic there. Curious to what you think of that. And then number two, why do you, and I know I'm jumping around here, but why do you think Kevin Owens was the one guy able to really break out of NXT versus everybody else that's come out of there.
I think he's just got a really strong, dominant personality that Raw really needs. That's why he's there.
For sure. And the first round, do you agree with Big Vic?
Yeah, I mean, they could have, sure, but it's just too easy a booking. I mean, they've already had to pretty much rewrite whatever they had plans for Survivor Series anyway, because that was largely going to be centered around Seth Rollins anyhow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they didn't have to think about it this week. They could just put it together. They know who's going to be going through to the finals. I mean, really, this is just plug and play wrestling tonight.
Now, do you ever heard our perspective? Are you surprised to see matches like Roman Reigns versus Cesaro and Del Rio versus Stardust, or do you think WWE is just trying to be edgy there?
I'm not too surprised because really I think everybody that is in the tournament is really some of the best workers for WWE. There's no slacking here.
No, I'm surprised though that they would impede on the idea of face versus face and heel versus heel. They try and stay away from that generally in tournaments. So I'm surprised they're going right after it. Ziggler and Ambrose, for instance, will be another one. That's going to be next week. So very surprised by that. Interesting nonetheless. So the tournament fans, if you get a chance to grab your brackets, that are all set. So it should get interesting from here. And that was really the focus point of tonight. But, another thing I want to bring up, Big Vic, that makes my pee-pee hard was a segment that I could have wrote myself. Was the last segment of the Bray Wyatt eulogy for Undertaker and Kane. I can't even do this justice, Nick, from what I saw here at the end of the show. Basically, Bray Wyatt comes out and calls us all fools for being Undertaker and Kane fans. Pretty much what you could expect. Talking about how they were once great, once mighty, and he took their souls and, they're dead and whatever. So whatever you could expect from Bray Wyatt to say about a eulogy for Undertaker and Kane. Well, they once again play that Undertaker and Kane video package, but this time Undertaker and Kane appear out on the stage. The crowd goes crazy. Old school Attitude Era style. Undertaker and Kane look awesome. They're like completely like sprayed down. They're like soaking wet out to the ring. They look totally jacked up and they look totally pissed off. And right before Kane and Undertaker could attack Bray Wyatt, the Wyatt segment happens, the place goes dark, and you literally have Rowan, Harper, Strowman around the ring. And Undertaker and Kane proceed to put a vicious beatdown on the four Wyatts. It was awesome. They absolutely destroyed Rowan and Harper as if they were small children. Strowman then, he's so terrible. Strowman comes in like all ominous, takes his mask off, and he starts screaming like as if he was a child that shit himself. And he starts going, "Arr! Arr!" And then he went after Undertaker and Kane, and they obliterated him. Finally, going down to where I told you he would be, which is the jobber status that he is, and Undertaker and Kane destroyed him. And then they destroyed Bray Wyatt. Now, I really thought that this was supposed to be a feud, but Undertaker and Kane basically just laid complete waste to the Wyatt family. I have to tell you, I made a mess of my pants. I completely just went like 2 or 3 times during the segment. Call me the Attitude Era, just sympathizer, but it was beautiful, and I think I cried at the end of the show. What'd you think, Ben?
Yeah. You know what? I like this. I like this matchup. I think we touched on it a little bit before. What's going to happen? Is it going to be a typical Survivor Series match, which I believe you can have 4 or 5 people in it? I mean,
2 and 4.
It's what is it? 4 and 4?
2 on 4 is what they're going to book.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking that they're going to book, because I mean, unless you throw, and I think I was talking to Kev about this before the show, unless you throw like Daniel Bryan in there, who are you going to tag up with Undertaker and Kane? No one. Not the primetime players, because they don't have any involvement in this.
I have a bad feeling that Stink is going, although he might not be in the match, he's going to help the brothers. Stink. Not Stink. Stink.
He's still out with, he's still recovering from his last match, no? I mean, that was like 2 months ago.
I heard he's ready to come back now. I've been reading that, and, you know, I have a feeling Stink, and I really want to pronounce that K. I have a feeling Stink will be back. How will you feel about
Stink? I don't know, man. I'm sort of over the Stinker. He's sort of run its course. I think that they can, you know what? I think they can give him his post in the Hall of Fame now. Feel good about it. Give him the Lifetime Achievement Award for not ever signing with WWE until it was too late to actually win a match.
You know what I worry about, though? WWE loves to throw the Dudley Boys into everything. And I could totally see them being like, oh, the Dudleys are here to help Undertaker and Kane. I really hope they don't go that route.
Yeah. And I was thinking, like, hey, you know what? If the Ascension were, like, faces, like, that would be a good way to give them a run.
Would have been. If you actually worked them the right way, and you didn't have to make them, like, the most brutal and dominant tag team, but you had to keep them dark, this would have been the perfect place to put them. And it just shows you, like, you know, they're not developing their characters appropriately. What would it matter? What would have mattered to keep the Ascension in the mix over the last 6 months and have them win matches here and there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just wasteful. Like, really, like.
I mean, they're wrestling like superstars. I mean, I don't think they've wrestled. I'm trying to think of the last time they actually wrestled a match. I mean, I know they're on coach.
The primetime players are literally the third tag team. They shouldn't. Yeah. They're like, the Ascension's better than them. I know that. I don't care what anyone says. They are better workers, and if they're not forced to do these rehearsed weird promos, I think they would have been a good spot right there. I mean, they would have been fine being, you know, just kind of in the mix, but it leaves you in a position like this where and I like what you're saying, and I like what you said before we went on the air. I may have been on mute, but I did listen to you and Killer Kev talk, and you just said that, like, and I agree with you. Your statement was no one really has the history here at this point to really be able to interject unless maybe Ambrose or Reigns, but we've just been through that, and they're in the tournament, so they're not going to do that. So interesting nonetheless. I really have a bad feeling Stink is going to be involved. Now, before we go, I want to ask Kev his opinion on Undertaker and Kane and Stink, but before we do that, you didn't really address, Vic, my question. And you know how I always say, what do you think of that, Vic? Because I love to get your perspective on stuff. You saw this. Undertaker and Kane killed these guys, and then they manhandled Strowman. I mean, I really want to know what you thought, what feelings you felt.
You know what? I had a huge erection during this segment. I mean, I like this a lot because I think that I think WWE's booked themselves into a corner here because they want to make the Wyatts an unstoppable threat. They want to make them monster. They want to make Strowman monsters, but then they put Undertaker and Kane in this match against them, where they could conceivably win 2-on-4 at Survivor Series.
They're going to. And Strowman got killed, and I loved it. I loved watching Strowman just get his ass kicked. And nothing made me more mad that he got in that position where all the Wyatts were laid out, and it's like, oh, here's Strowman. He's like, I'm like, are they really going to let this happen? Please tell me.
I think they gave him a little bit more push because he's from Europe, I believe.
He got
from like Norway or
No,
something.
first off, they like threw him out of the ring like a child, and then they threw him over the table like he was. I mean,
No, but I'm saying when he came in, the reason they brought him in late, like they built it up, and the crowd was actually going like pretty nuts for him.
Come on, dude.
No, I mean like they're building up as like
we were watching different.
They were building up as anticipation, like they keep him out of the ring.
Jay Brown literally get treated the way he should be, and it was about time. I mean, I'm not
saying I think they booked it right. I'm just saying that the reason that he got kept out of the ring is not just because he's like their monster, but also he's from like Europe, and like you can tell like the crowd, there's like an extra there, I guess you call it.
It seemed like Christmas wasn't going to happen this year, and then this happened tonight. Finally, Strowman.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, it was like the night when Rusev finally lost a match. And it's funny because now I'm a very documented Ruru lover, but I'll never forget how great I felt when they finally ended that streak. And this was similar. This was much better. This was much more rewarding. And I'm looking forward to when the Brothers of Destruction actually pin him, or they might do what's actually worse. WWE gets the idea every now and then that it's a good idea to have someone get their ass kicked so bad that they get knocked out and they then get counted out on the outside so that they save face and don't get pinned. But I think that that's literally 100 times worse because you basically just got last man standing. So you basically you didn't even get pinned, you got knocked out cold, which is 100 times worse than getting pinned. So if they want to go that route at the pay-per-view, great. I would love to see Strowman get knocked out cold and counted out. Kev, just real quick, love to get your opinion. Did you chub up watching Undertaker and Kane destroy the Wyatts tonight?
It was nice and I liked it, but what's the point of a pay-per-view match now? This was the ending this was the ending that this feud deserved, and it deserved to happen at Survivor Series. Now we're not going to get that ending, and I don't think we're going to get any kind of ending that's going to be any more awesome or better than what we got tonight. So that pissed me off.
I'm okay with it. I'm glad that I got it, and I'm glad that Strowman got completely dismantled finally.
Yeah, I mean, I have absolutely no problem with how this ended here. I mean, it was great. Although I thought it kind of interesting that there was just Undertaker pretty much decided, no, I'm not going to pick up Strowman and chokeslam this big ass hoss.
You there?
Just shove him over the rope. That's good enough for this fucking greenhorn.
Well, there is one thing better they can do, and the payoff could be. Remember, they're the ones that got dragged off, Undertaker and Kane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how dark Undertaker is going to get here, but you do recall the Ministry days. And if we're going to do a good old-fashioned Deadly Games tournament, could they have Undertaker go old school and sacrifice one of the Wyatts at the pay-per-view?
I was going to say, Vincent Russ still alive, he could come out too.
If they were to put Strowman up on the thing, up on the Ministry logo, and sacrifice him, I may literally at that point castrate myself because I'll never feel anything better.
Well, they can't do that because then Kurt Angle will never want to return.
He might he might actually change his mind and be like, with Braun Strowman, I understand why they did it.
No, but I like I said, I like the ending for this, but I don't know. I really don't know if they can do anything better. I mean, the only thing I can think of to continue on with this, I mean, if this is the ending that they gave tonight, then I think they just need to kill the whole storyline and just leave it here and do something else for the pay-per-view, not involving Undertaker and Kane versus Wyatts, because like I said, I don't think it's going to be that exciting. But here's an idea for you. Bray Wyatt talked about how he consumed their souls. What if next week Bray Wyatt brings out the urn, and when Undertaker and Kane try to respond, all of a sudden they're under his spell?
Oh no.
Ooh, there's a little dark magic there.
I know. Wouldn't that be something?
That would
it'd be even worse.
To the next level.
It'd be even worse if Undertaker came out with any more of a sunburn tonight.
Oh jeez. No, the urn though brings a different dynamic to it. So I'm sure WWE's got something planned. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here.
So
you know what they could do here, and this could be the ultimate swerve. And I believe this going into WrestleMania a couple of years ago. What if Paul Bearer joins them coming out to the ring?
You're an idiot. You know what? On this, Paul Bearer's dead. I know you know that.
Yeah, but I literally thought that it was work for WrestleMania like 2 years ago, because he died like a week or two before, and they were building up Undertaker, and like literally like somebody was like ribbing on Paul Bearer nonstop leading up to the pay-per-view. So I was thinking like, hey, you know what? Like nobody's really gonna. nobody's really going to notice if Paul Bearer like really died or not. Like nobody's going to keep that much track of him. So if they put an angle where he died and then comes out and shocks everyone.
Here is what's going to happen, because this is all about faction warfare. There was a match tonight that we're not going to cover because it was a cluster F. The New Day beat Neville and the Usos. Okay? That took place. So it looks like they're going towards something with the Usos getting a title shot, potentially, against the New Day, but that's problematic because the Lucha Dragons and their contenders. Anyway, my point being is, the only way to stop, and this is why New Day won, the only way to stop the juggernaut of the Wyatt family and the Brothers of Destruction is to Wyatt with Bo Dallas. So hear me out, guys. Killer Kev Vic. One of my favorite factions of old day will be channeled here. Bo Dallas of Wyatt lineage and the New Day will form a faction, the Nation of Inspiration. What do you think?
Wow. I hope Vince McMahon is not listening to this right now, because you may be getting a job offer as a writer for WWE.
The Nation of Inspiration, Bo Dallas and the New Day.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. I like it. But finally, you might have something useful for Bo Dallas.
I mean, it would be hysterical. I don't know really what that does to Xavier Woods, because he's kind of that role, but the crowd would eat that shit up, and they would win. The Nation of Inspiration. I love it. I want to see WWE run with it. And Kev or Vic, if any of you guys want to take that idea and write it up and send it into WWE, go ahead and take it. I have no problem with it. I don't have the initiative to write to anyone, but I would love to see that on my TV screen. Man, I would love it.
You know anyway. What? You know, going back to the Undertaker and Kane, you think it's just going to be the two of them against the Wyatts?
I do, but I do think Stink is going to help them, and I don't really know why, but I think the whole supernatural piece, and I think he's got an axe to grind with the Wyatts for some reason. I don't know. I really do feel like Stink is going to be involved. What do you think of that?
Well, I think if we're going to go with the supernatural thing, we need to add a couple more supernatural characters. I think, first of all, you add the Boogeyman.
Oh, goodness. I knew you were going to say that.
Why not? Why not the Boogeyman?
Because he's not.
I don't know. They just signed him to a Legends contract along with Tatanka. So it could literally be all Legends of WWE past versus the Wyatt family. Think about it. It's Tatanka, the Boogeyman, who's sort of a legend, Undertaker and Kane versus the Wyatts.
Could be.
And then
instead of what's his name? Instead of Boogeyman, who isn't really around then, they bring back the Gobbledygooker.
With John.
No. Here's the fourth one that you bring in. Papa Shango.
Oh.
Dude, I love Papa Shango. That's Kama, man. Holy cow. That'd be cool, though. I like Papa Shango. That would be neat.
That would be a lineup. Undertaker, Kane, Boogeyman, Papa Shango. Managed by Brother Love.
Who would? It has to be somebody the Undertaker and Kane would. Yeah, I agree with Vic that the only person that really has it'd have to be like partners of Kane and the Undertaker. Like who could you really use? You could use Big Show, Daniel Bryan, or X-Pac. I mean, those are really the only guys that are tied to Undertaker and Kane.
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, go with the supernatural thing. I mean, this whole thing's just goofy anyway. So let's just go full bore into it. Get those two classical goofy characters. Get Brother Love back in the makeup and the white suit.
Dude,
his original manager.
That's stupid. If anything, like the ship sailed with Daniel Bryan and Kane. I mean, Kane has done so much bad shit to Daniel Bryan. They will never, ever, ever be on the same page or team up ever again.
No.
Kane has, if there's two guys he's tormented in the last 3 or 4 years, it's Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan. He has done whatever he could to mess with those two guys. So that ain't going to happen. But I really do think X-Pac's the one partner Kane really, really resonated with. That'd be kind of
I
cool.
don't think X-Pac can wrestle anymore though.
Yeah, he can. He's in good shape, right? No?
No, he retired a couple years ago because of injuries.
No, he's been around, I thought. No?
No, he retired a couple years ago. He went on he did a big retirement tour and everything.
That's too bad. I thought X-Pac was still around. I mean, I saw him on WWE TV not too long ago, and he looked pretty good. I mean, he didn't look. I mean, he was obviously looked he was high, but physically he wasn't like he didn't look like a mess at all. It looked like he was still working out and stuff. Surprised by that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do. I think we got to watch this develop. The only other thing I want to kind of cover tonight is the Divas for a couple reasons. I was really surprised to see Becky Lynch beat Paige, considering they're doing so much with Paige's character. Paige is kind of like the Seth Rollins of the women's division. I really like her going full-fledged heel and complete B she's being. She's backstage. She's really taken this role of bullying Renee Young. I mean, she's going after Renee Young every time. I just loved how Paige backstage is like, oh, it's the investigative reporter, Renee Young. I mean, what's so intelligent are you going to say this week? I can't wait to hear this. And then on top of that, she goes, I'm going to take care of that B in PCB, Becky Lynch. And when I'm done with the B, I'm going to take care of Baby Flair, who's definitely a C. I was like, whoa, dude. So that was really cool backstage interview. But then she kind of loses her steam and basically loses her focus of the match. She gets rolled up by Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch actually wins the match. Not that that's a surprise, but you know, I'm surprised they would let Paige lose a match before the title match with Charlotte. Paige snaps, puts the PTO on top of the announce table on Becky Lynch and just will not let go of it. So Charlotte has to chase her off. Charlotte comes out. It was kind of a cool segment. I just not necessarily sure I would have had Becky Lynch beat Paige at this point. I was surprised by it, but it was kind of cool all the way around. Paige's new character is definitely working for her, or not new character, but new personality is working for her. So, you know, I'm kind of excited about Paige versus Charlotte, but maybe not so much because she lost to Becky Lynch tonight. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Nah, don't care.
Wow, really?
Nah. I mean, I'm not that much into Becky Lynch, or at least the way they've put her on WWE TV. So
I'm into Paige, so maybe not into Paige as like a fan, but I'm into Paige as a new character, as somebody who's a threat to the title. I do think Charlotte's gonna win, so I would have probably had Becky Lynch win this match tonight after the pay-per-view. But I don't know. I like it. I mean, I feel like these matches are athletic. They're good matches that they put on, and I don't know. I think the Divas are really. I think they're doing a good job. I mean, I'm interested, you know, and you know, I looked at Natalya later in the night versus Naomi. Natalya won that match, and then she got jumped by Sasha Banks. I thought that was a good match too. You know, I think the Divas have meaning, you know, and I'm glad to see it. Vic, what do you think? I think the Divas put Vic to sleep. That says something. Anyway, you know, I guess we'll see how that shapes out on the pay-per-view between Paige and Charlotte, but I'm picking Charlotte for that one. Now, Kev, you know, we covered a lot of material tonight. It was definitely an exciting Raw. I think WWE almost could come out of this looking better. They can get lightning in a bottle with a tournament winner that kind of overcomes all odds because the tournament is so stacked with talent, which is cool. So we're going to see a winner there, and they're going to get a good burn. Seth Rollins is in position to come back like a superstar when he does come back. So it's interesting. You know, it's a fun time. So I give tonight's show an A-. It's near impossible for me to give any show an A. What would you give the show tonight?
I'd give it an A, sure.
Yeah, all right, Kev. I'm glad to hear you say that. You see what they did with this? They actually made fresh TV tonight. That's what it's about.
And you need that. It doesn't have to be every segment new, but I mean, there needs to be like different storylines constantly evolving.
Do you give it an A, Vic?
The show?
Yeah.
I give it a solid B. I want the option to change it to an A based on next week's show.
I give it an A-. To me, an A is so hard to give. I mean, you gotta really do something. Because to me, an A+ doesn't exist. Ever. to me, an A means you did something like you know what show I would give an A? The night Ziggler cashed in Money in the Bank and beat Del Rio, where it looked like Del Rio actually was going to beat him. We actually did that Raw reaction. Remember how we were saying how cool that was when Del Rio snapped off the armbar? And that show was just incredible. The crowd was insane in Jersey. That was an A show. That was one of the best Raws ever. That's an A show. This is pretty damn good. But, hey, man, necessity breeds innovation, right? And that's what you saw tonight. Man, look at me tonight. Necessity breeds innovation, nation of inspiration. Dude, I'm on tonight, boys. I'm on tonight. Tonight's my night. Maybe you guys aren't. Anyway, we got a lot of things going on at the network. Now, I gotta say, Kev, I apologize. I didn't shout out the VOC, our dual branded. I mean, if AMP, Angry Marks Podcasting, is Raw in our multi-brand federation, well then VOC is our SmackDown. You know what I'm saying? We got.
I think VOC is more than that. I feel like they're not SmackDown. I feel like they're monthly pay-per-view, but only good pay-per-views without Sting main eventing.
Wow, that's good. So the VOC gives us that pay-per-view feel, I guess. We're excited to be part of not only the Angry Marks family, aka the Angry Parks family, to join with the VOC Brotherhood. So it's all good. It's all good. So we're glad to be here in our third week with the VOC. Now, Kev, with that being said, tell us what's going on both of the networks.
Well, tomorrow night, if you're on VOC Nation, you can listen to In the Room with Brady Hicks and the Stro and our own Jordan Garber. I don't have a lineup of what they're going to be discussing or if they've got a guest, but it's always good for them. Over on our side of things, it will be the Undisputed Wrestling Show with our new lineup of new hosts, Q-Ball Carmichael, Drew Skills, the Morning Star Will Huckabee, who is the NWA Continental Champion, and of course the Bearded Wonder Zane Paisley rounding out that cast. On tomorrow night's show, in the second hour, we're going to be doing a interview with indie female sensation Paloma Star. In the first hour, though, we've got the man beast, Rhino.
Really? Rhino?
Straight off of his run out of NXT and his recent indie appearances, he's going to have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Wait, is he done with NXT? No, right? He's still there.
He's off. I think he's off TV right now because he's got a lot of indie stuff he's working right now. And
that's awesome.
he is actually launching his own independent wrestling federation.
That's so cool. I'm sure he learned a lot down in NXT. Actually, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Usually these guys when they're with WWE and NXT have a bit of a blackout. So I'm glad to hear he's coming on here. That's really exciting.
Yep, it'll be great to listen to. And both of those shows air at 9 p.m. Of course, either go to vocnation.com or go to AngryMarks.com, depending on which show you want to listen to. Or if you can't decide, just download them afterwards. Pick one to listen live, pick the other to download later. They're both available anytime you want. They're usually up the next day. So
I'll tell you, man, Zane and his crew, I can't give them enough credit. They always get awesome people. They've definitely upped the game here at our network. So pumped that those guys are here. And Will Huckabee, isn't he the correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't he the guy that was running for president a couple years ago and he's on all the political shows? Huckabee?
No, that's that former jackass governor.
I apologize.
Mike
anyway,
Huckabee.
What else we got on the network?
Well, of course, every Wednesday it's Glove Up or Shut Up with Peter H. and Stevie J, covering the world of mixed martial arts, UFC, and the like. Always lots of news to cover every week. Thursday night is the return of Thursday Night AMP with Stevie J and the Great Sudoku, and if we can find them, Jordan Garber, talking all kinds of stuff. I don't think we have a guest lined up for this week, so it's just going to be some pretty general talk. Last week's episode was Stevie J along with Sudoku and...
Wait, they have somebody named Sudoku, like the puzzles that they do?
Yes. We have somebody named the Great Sudoku.
I will never forget the Great Sudoku's run in WCW. Between 89 and 91, his TV title feud with Sting was incredible. The Great Sudoku, when he came back to WCW and held the tag team titles of Impero, was also great when they were in the Dark Carnival. I mean, hell, NWO Japan, Masahiro Chono and the Great Sudoku, they were amazing. Just saying.
Yeah. I'd like it if they called him the Great Sudoku and they came out and they basically put a Sudoku puzzle on the board with one piece too few missing from it, and you have people you have it getting filled in and then just being impossible because there aren't enough pieces to it.
That's awesome, and I think that would be a great thing for the network if we could pull that off. You know what? I think we're just hating because we know how cool of a handle the Great Sudoku is. I mean, that really is a cool name, and I can't do anything but wish that we would have thought of that ourselves.
Anyway, last week's episode was Stevie J and the Great Sudoku being joined by Abby Arthur, noted wrestling journalist, discussing all the latest news coming out of Japan for pro wrestling. So we had a dedicated show for Japanese pro wrestling last week. You definitely want to catch that.
That's neat. Can I ask another question? Now, remember when there was the draft in WWE the first year and the NWO, for some reason, were the only organization that could be on both shows? Like the NWO could be on Raw or SmackDown, even though they were supposed to be exclusive to SmackDown. I feel like Jordan Garber is pretty much like the NWO of our networks, because not only does he have shows on the VOC, but he has them on Angry Marks as well. So good for Jordan.
Yeah, he is always plugging himself, so...
One way or the other.
Way to go, kid. Friday nights, Over the Top Radio with Ed in San Antonio and all of his friends. And this weekend we'll probably be recording another episode of The Impact Implosion with Seth Draken and Mike Poulin.
Love those guys.
Yep, absolutely do love those guys. Of course, over on VOC Nation side of things, other shows that we've got on their network this week, we've got In the Room tomorrow night, like I mentioned. We've also got on the schedule, as soon as it pulls up for me, maybe it's not going to pull up for me. Here we go. Tuesday night, like I said, In the Room, along with Top Rope Radio at 7 p.m. Wednesday night, you've got VOC Wrestling Nation at 5:30 and WC Retro at 9. Thursday nights, it's Faces for Radio at 5:30 p.m. and That Dating Show at 10. Friday nights is His and Her Dork World at midnight. Saturday, it's the Midnight Man Cave, and at midnight, the Retro Roundtable at 2 p.m. And it ends with Funhouse with AK, 11:30 p.m. Saturday night, and then Sundays, Max Wrestling at 2 p.m., Sunday Segway at 5 p.m., and it looks like this week we've got NASCAR Talk with Dustin at 6, and Sunday Night Football on deck at 7:30 p.m.
You know what's funny? Funhouse with AK is a great show. I listen to Funhouse all the time. In fact, they spent an hour last week talking about how to organize your porn collection. I thought that was an incredible show on the Funhouse. But hey, whatever floats your boat. Now, speaking of porn, I was curious you mentioned on our networks that, we're going to have a certain guest coming on the networks. And, I was very critical, and we talked about it with Ciara about Trina Michaels, an adult film star, being on the airwaves. So it sounds like Paloma Starr, she is also an adult film star, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't know anything about her.
Well, that sounds like an adult film star name to me.
I don't know. Maybe you tune in tomorrow night and you find out.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag, because I think you're seeing on the VOC that they cover all this different type of material, which is very fun on their network. Saturday nights, Killer Kev, extraordinary producer, and our networks, because of the passion that Big Dick and I have for horse racing, American Pharaoh, the Breeders' Cup, the Triple Crown, Wise Dan, the list goes on and on and on. We will be hosting our new show, Thoroughbred Digest, every Saturday night here on the AngryMarks Network, What do you think? What do you think, Vic? Thoroughbred Digest, where we go through handicapping every week.
If you guys wanted to do that show, I think we can find an outlet for it.
It's too bad. I don't think there'd be enough fans out there for it. I don't think horse racing has people that want to listen to podcasts, but that would be fun. That certainly would be fun.
Speaking of which, I heard I saw a statistic coming out of this week. Keeneland announced that over 24,000 people had a winning ticket for American Pharoah and have not cashed them in.
Really? That's awesome. Well, that shows you how many people want to hold on to a keepsake for the event. I know Vic bought a bunch for himself. He got a couple for me and my kids. That's awesome. That's what it's all about, man. That's a great thing. I love that. That's so good for horse racing. You know what I mean? That people are just like, I want to have this little piece of history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's so cool, man.
What did that end up paying out?
It was like 3 to 5. I mean, it wasn't much, but so I mean, 3 to 5 means if you put down $2, you get 80 cents. So $2 gets you $2.80. So and you only get back 80 cents on your $2. So it's not like you get $4.80, you get $2.80. So
right.
It's not much, but that's pretty cool though. I'm glad to hear that. It's great for your state, dude. I mean, tell me Kentucky hasn't gotten some shine. You know what I'm saying? From the last year of horse racing, which, Kentucky's a great state, man. I mean, I'll tell you, between your college sports, between the horse racing, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history in that state, and it's a big part of America, and it's pretty cool, man. I'm very excited that it stood out the way it has. And it's the home of our very own Killer Kev.
Indeed it is.
Well, this was a great show. It was fun to cover Raw this week, and Killer Kev, we thank not only our AMP flag for always keeping us underneath it, but we also want to thank BOC Nation for allowing us to go to their audience as well. So it's been a great show. It's been a great night. We thank you. We'll see you all next week, and we're looking forward to covering more of the WWE title tournament, as well as other things that may or may not happen on Raw within the wrestling community. So thank you, everyone, for joining myself, Big Dick, the Killer Kev, and we'll see you next week. Killer Kev, hit the music, my friend.